I need an intro.
Just start the damn video! Okay, this is entry 1 for days off. This was, I had a 4-day weekend. I'm waking up, getting over here and everything, trying to get my day put together. I haven't really set myself up or nothing. Man, the computer played hell with me this weekend. You ever have one of those times where you update the computer and something doesn't update right, and then I had to go in and uninstall the updates and try it again, and it was a pain, because at first I didn't 100% notice. It had done its normal reset and yada yada and put its thing down here in the bottom corner, and it was like, oh, we updated. And then it said, problem with the update, see it. And so I clicked on it, and it was like, oh, for some reason we couldn't finish the updates on this, this, and this. Restart your computer. And I was like, whatever. So I hit the button, and it reset the computer, and then it came back, and it said it again. It was like, we could not install these 3 things. And I was like, well, for right now, maybe I don't care about those things. So I go in to do the comic book moments, and I'm halfway through the video when all of a sudden the computer just resets. Just resets. No warning, no prompt, nothing. And I was like, what the? So I go in, and I'm like, oh, you just ruined a lot of my time, computer. And then it was like, hey, we can't install this thing. Maybe you should go in and tell us a time to reset. And I was like, no. It's like, I don't have time for all this bull crap right now. So I go in and I tell it. I was like, wait, do it at this time. So then I go in and I do the 2 videos. I get them ready. I post them. Then I go to sleep and I wake up. And of course, the computer's still on its thing about, hey, we can't install these things. I don't know why. So I had to go in and find exactly what it was talking about and uninstall those updates and then reset the computer again. Then it went through this big, long, stupid Windows update process. It was way longer than normal. Because I had to uninstall those updates, they went through all the updates, getting me back to the point where I'm supposed to be. And now everything works, but man, what a pain. And that right there is computers. Computers can be a pain. They really can. It's crazy when we've had these conversations on things like the controller pileup, where we've talked about computers and consoles and why consoles are oftentimes the seller to the common person rather than computers, where people say, well, people would learn computers or yada yada, and computers are better in every single way. And well, yeah, but the convenience of it is not the same. Like, that was 3 days of problems. And that's not to say that problems don't occur on the consoles, but it's a different thing. The console is simply easier. It has been easier for a long time. It says game, box, put it in, controller, it works, turn it on. But computers can sometimes be a bigger hassle than they're worth. So, but the benefits of the computer outweigh the console completely. So really, it's just a mess either way you go. I got comic books to cut through today. I'm going to try to make today because I normally do these videos throughout the weekend, but I thought since I would wait and have things to talk about and whatnot for Sunday, because that's the last of my days off. So that's the beginning of the video. The next time you see me will be the midday report, and the midday report I will be a little more presentable. I'm just waking up. I'm waiting for breakfast, things like that. So yeah, this is Days Off 3. Yep. So, Days Off 3 afternoon. This part I'm going to talk about Octopath Traveler. Now, this is what I've spent pretty much my entire day doing. I know I said at the start of the day I was going to read some comic books, and I got through like 2 of them, and then I was like, I bought that Octopath Traveler. I should play that. And I did. And it is absolutely magnificent. For people that are on the fence, I'm going to go ahead and do a type of review right here. So, Octopath Traveler, here's what's going on. There are, of course, 8 characters. You could pick any one of these 8 characters that you want. But let's go ahead and plug this into the format now that I'm thinking about it. Let's go ahead and do the old format that we used to do back when we were doing the Legacy of Gaming podcast. So here we go. First we see it. Now, Octopath Traveler has magnificent graphics. It really does. The artwork inside of Octopath Traveler is magnificent to begin with, but that's really just artwork. That's got very little to do with the actual game and the way it looks. Now, I will, of course, post a couple pictures up here so that you can see what I'm talking about. But here's what's going on, guys. Remember Final Fantasy VI? For those of us that have been around that long, Final Fantasy VI is kind of what Octopath Traveler looks like. It's incredibly reminiscent, but it's Final Fantasy VI if there was 3D depth. Like, it's really crazy. It's this beautiful mix of modern-day 3D so that you can go into the foreground, go into the background. You can walk up. It's elevated up and down and left and right and forward and back. It's really magnificent, but everything looks like it did in Final Fantasy VI, those graphics. It's crazy how much it takes me back to that exact game. But as I'm playing it, I could see just this detail and this life that didn't exist in Final Fantasy VI because we just couldn't do it yet. The colors and the way everything is presented is just magnificent. It is truly, for looking old, it looks retro, it looks old, but it looks magnificent, and that's hard to do, because when usually you go for like a retro feeling, when you make something look like it's older, it just technically looks older, and that might be cool on a nostalgic level, but this is different. This is some sort of magnificent hybrid that's just, it looks far back, but it looks present day. So it's really crazy just how wonderful it looks and just how old it looks. It's kind of hard to explain. I'm trying my best here, and as I'm throwing up a couple images here and there, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. It's just crazy good looking in terms of the color and the artwork in general, while at the same time taking us all the way back to that old feeling that we had. Next, we hear it. Now, when we hear this game, it sounds really good. The voice acting is good, but it's very old English, so they took to the time that they're trying to portray rather than bringing it up to modern day and having people talk like they do, which this is both good and bad. Sometimes it hurts a little bit because you're trying to get used to the way people talk, and this can both put you back where they want you to be, and it can also make it tough to understand people sometimes when they say certain things, or sometimes it can feel like they're dragging certain parts out that could have easily been handled today with a "I understand" or something like that. So that's neither here nor there. It's just a little bitty thing that you need to look out for. The voice acting is partly good, partly bad. It's what you expect from an anime, basically. And I'm not saying that anime can't have good voice acting, but let us be honest here. When you're talking about voice acting, usually you don't credit anime for having Emmy award-winning actors. You just don't, okay? It's a true statement. And it goes for video games, too. And this game, the voice acting is passable. It's not overly good. It's passable. The music is very good. Very good. In fact, the music makes up for any issues you may have with the voice acting, honestly. And if you don't like one voice acting, I don't know this for sure, but it said that you can change the language, and so maybe you could try that. For me, I just left it kind of where it was, and the voice acting is fine. It gets us by. But like I said, you will experience those little difficulties. Now, so we've seen it, we've heard it, we play it. Now, when we play this game, this is where everything changes. This is where the game really, truly, honestly shines. Because it's crazy. It's crazy good. The game, for every character that you add, all 8 characters, it adds a whole new dimension to the game. If you start the game out, and I'll just tell you my experience so far. I started the game out as Ophelia. And this person, she can guide people. So she comes across somebody that's not feeling too good. Now, Ophelia is this girl right here. Now, Ophelia, here's what's going on. She might find, like, a person who's looking for information, or somebody that wants to reach their husband in another town, but they can't cross the woods. Well, you can take that person into her care and take them with you, and then that person can help you in battle. They can be summoned to do certain things in battle. Not all of these things, not all of these people you tote around with you are going to be worth it, but you could do this. You could summon them into battle to help you, or you could just take them to the destination that you need to take them to. So if you're not holding around anybody for battle purposes, you may go up to one of the guards that have high strength and take them with you, and you can use them like a summon. Otherwise, this person allows you to experience the world and help people with their problems. You could take this woman across the woods to be reunited with her husband. You can reunite families. You can fix certain things, like this guy needs this level of information. This guy has this level of information. And you could take the two to meet one another, and then they can exchange that information, and then that makes the world bigger because they can discover things, and then you can help different areas. And this will take up your credibility or likeness, likable nature or charisma in said town that you are in. And this is important because the town is going to view you certain ways. And if that viewpoint drops, it can be tougher to get certain things to work, and it can be harder to get certain skills to work, and so on and so forth. After that person, the very next person I went to was Cyrus. Now, Cyrus, right here, is pretty much the black mage of the game. He gets magic and things like that in battle, but then he's got something else he does that turned out to be really cool, really surprised me. He's Sherlock Holmes. He will scrutinize people. You can walk up to somebody and he'll be like, this guy, and he'll figure out all these things about that guy. He'll be like, this guy was abandoned and blah, 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 and he lives here, and he doesn't take his job too seriously. He's proud of other things. He's hiding a secret business, yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, you can find things happening in the different towns where, like, somebody's been accused of murder, or there is a stolen object, and he'll be like, haha, the game is afoot. And he actually does drop that. He literally says the game is afoot. And then he goes about solving the case. And that's up to you. You actually have to use his skill to talk to the different towns members, to figure out all the information, bring it all together, and then solve the mystery yourself. And he's pretty cool. I really like that. In fact, I go out of my way in every single town right now to do that with every single character that I can find in the town. Because this also leads to secret items, discounts at the stores, extra weapons that you didn't know were for sale. So he'll like scrutinize one guy or whatever and be like, blah, blah, all this background information. And then it'll be like, there's a new item in sale at the shop. And he could do all that sort of thing, which is really cool. Now, after I left Cyrus, which I didn't leave them, they're with me. The next person I went to was to Hyanet. I might be saying her name wrong. I might be saying it really wrong, but this is her. This person catches me like almost like a Red Sonja-esque character. She uses axes and bows, and she hunts, and she has animals that can be called into battle to help her. Now, what she can do is she can interact in the town by attacking people in the town. Now, this sounds negative, but basically what's going on is she can persuade people to fight you. And then say there's a guy that's standing in front of a door and you can't get him out of the way. And you know there's something in that house. She just got this feeling. Well, she can attack that person in town, defeat him, he'll go down, and then he'll lay beside the door, and you can go into that door and you can find whatever items or treasures or people or whatever is in there. And that's pretty cool too. Now, what she's really useful for, the real thing that you need to do with her is she can go out into the wilderness and she can weaken an enemy. And then once the enemy is weak enough, say a beast of some sort, like a wolf or something, or a dog, she can then capture that creature, tame it. And once it's tamed, she can summon it into battle, a lot like having a summoner or a beast tamer, but way better than the beast tamer that we actually got in, say, Final Fantasy V. So that's what this person does, and her attitude is pretty cool. I like that she is a hunter. She's very much like the world, and never kill anything that you don't need, and so on and so forth. And then there's Therion, which he is the thief of the game, and he does exactly what you would imagine he does. He goes into the towns and everything. Now, in battle, he just does attacks and whatnot. He's an agile character. But in town, every other person in town that has one of the things above their head that means you can talk to them, if you go up to that person, you can steal their stuff. If you screw up, your likability or charisma or whatever in the town goes down, which makes stealing even more difficult. But if you succeed, he can steal all kinds of items, like a crazy amount of good stuff that then adds to the game in different ways. Really cool. He could steal recipes to be able to craft materials and do all this other stuff. Really cool character in terms of what he can do. Now we move on to the last thing. We engross ourselves in the tale. What is this game about? This is where things get a little sketchy. When you start the game, you start as one person, which is good and fine. I started as Ophelia. Well, I already showed you who that was. And I went through a storyline with her and her sister and her adoptive father, and how something went wrong, and her adoptive father got very sick, and then she went into this cave, which she's not allowed to go into, and while she was in that cave, she took a sacred flame, which she also wasn't supposed to do, so that her sister could stay by her father's side. Then she goes back, and they're like, hey, you weren't supposed to do that, but we understand where you were coming from. If you can go do the ritual, if you can light the torches or whatever, go do it. So you get your blessing, yada yada, and you head out. And I said, okay, well, that works for me so far. Then I came across the second part, which was Cyrus. Now, once I got Cyrus, I started doing his tale. Now, at first I didn't have an issue with this because it said, hey, do you want to view this guy's tale? And I said, yes, because you find him in the town, he's standing there, and you talk to him, and then it's like, yeah, this guy's an actual character. You have the option to view his tale. View his tale, complete chapter 1, and then you get him on your team. And I was like, that's fine. So I did that, and I was fine with his story up until the point when he joined my team. Here's where my problem started taking place. As I've went through his storyline, it's just him. As if the other characters tagging along with him don't mean anything. Now, I'm not too far. I've only got 4 of the 8 people, so I'm not that far, and I'm doing the Thieves storyline right now, but this is exactly what I'm getting at. When you go and you get the thief and he's talking about how he's going to go steal from this house, well, when you go to the storyline to steal from the house, when you've got all 4 of your people, he's the only guy doing it in terms of the storylines that you see, the cutscenes. This bothers me a little bit. And I guess I understand how much of a pain it would have been to try to script everybody in or something, but I have trouble when I have Ophelia on my team. I don't know how she reacts to the fact that he's stealing everything. In fact, there doesn't seem to be a reaction at all, which then makes me feel like there's basically just 8 different stories, and you're playing those 8 different stories single, but with a team that the game just doesn't reference you have with you. For what it's worth, the game is awesome. I really think it is an absolutely fantastic game, and it works just great, and that's the only real problem I have with the story, except for some of the delivering is, like I said, kind of weak. But it works, and every single one of the stories has its own little cliche narrative that we've gotten used to over the years, but they're all fine, and they work, and they tell the story, and they make you appreciate the character for what they are. Only thing I wish, and I guess I'm going to have to wait till I get a little further to guarantee this, but like I said, it doesn't seem to have any repercussion as to who you have with you, what story you're going through. It just kind of says, okay, you're doing it. You're doing the story. So yeah, that's all for the mid part of this update. Just wanted to talk Octopath Traveler, tell you what I've been doing. It's not really much going on in terms of this day off. I haven't gone anywhere, haven't done anything. I'm just sitting around the house doing what you do. So that's it, guys. I will be back tonight to finish up the third part of the days off, and then of course I will edit this video and yada yada. I like how I tell you that, even though you're going to see that part and it's not really relevant at all, but whatever. Later on, guys. Or rather, tonight I will see, whatever. I'll be back. Okay, so here we are, into the night, final part of the days off. This is days off 3. And this is where we normally talk about the shows and what I'm doing and Fandom Knight and so on and so forth. A little bit of a hiccup. I'm going to call it a screw-up. I ended up doing comic book moments again. This time, because of my reading habit that fell me this week, I didn't really have the randomness that I want. I want that show to be random. I want that show to be, like the first episode is very much like Blonde Wonder Woman. Blonde Wonder Woman. Yeah, that's cool. I want this kid's standee. Like, and it shows a little thing in the back, and then I say things like, then I might get on a debate or something where I'm like, I'm ready for this character to die, blah, 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 yada, yada, whatever, that kind of thing. Looks like I'm back on course with the way that I'm getting stuff. Last episode, I just did like 2 comic book recaps, full recaps. Don't get used to that. That's not what that show is supposed to be. Next thing is to talk about Fandom Knight, and I have an idea to save the show, but I'm not 100% sure that it's being received. I don't know if the guys are not understanding or what, but look, guys, we can sometimes spend like 6 hours on a Sentai recording day. We go in, we record an episode, we get sidetracked, we have to do stuff, or sometimes we have to edit certain things right off the bat, or we might run into some sort of technical situation, or we have to stop and go eat and come back and yada yada. And sometimes it can literally be like a 6-hour long ridiculous thing. It should only take us at an hour and a half an episode, 3 hours, maybe 4 hours at most. And it doesn't. It doesn't. It sometimes doesn't. I've been there sometimes 4, 5, 6 hours easily. So I got to thinking, we can't film on that kind of schedule and then expect that nobody's going to be burnt out and that we're going to come in here every single other night with all the other shows. Because, let's face it, we are not. We are simply not going to do that. And just to kind of take it into perspective here, let me go into my thing here. There is the often files. Okay, so look guys. Right now, Comics Toss is done. We have the Sentai review. You guys know how that's filmed. Now, What's Up Fandom Night is filmed, and that was going to be on the Saturday that we don't film Sentai. Sounds simple enough. That's easy. We could do that. Now, where's my upload folder? Because that'll make this conversation a lot easier. There. Okay, look. Controller pile-up. Say that's on Wednesday, and that's when it was going to be. It was going to be on Wednesday at about 8 or 8:30 would have been the go time, and then we would have talked about it from there. Then we would have jumped over to Pages of Fandom. And from Pages of Fandom, we would have talked for a little while. And I'm sorry, I'm hearing this noise over my headphones, and it was worrying me that it was catching the mic, and it might have been. I don't know. We're going to hope that it wasn't. Somebody was riding a motorcycle. So anyways, let's start again. Controller pile-up. That was going to be on Wednesday. Then we were going to come back to do Pages of Fandom on Friday, and that was going to be a weird thing too. Then TAS, or Comics Toss, I don't think that Scott really wanted to give that up, because now he kind of wants us to talk about like Dragon Ball Z and things like that and go basically chapter to chapter in the mangas, which would have been better for the TAS format as to what we do. And then, of course, there's the What's Up Fandom Night and then the Wrestling Corner. So they do Wrestling Corner on Sunday. So let's put this into a thing here. You're talking there's 7 days a week. Controller Pile Up is Sunday. Now we're down to 6 days a week, okay? Or rather, that's one show. What's Up Fandom Night every other Saturday. There. The Sentai Review every other Saturday. Then Pages of Fandom, that would be on, say, Friday. Controller Pile Up on Wednesday. And then there's also the Who Trek that we were talking about. That was going to be like on Mondays. It's not possible. It's not possible. We're barely holding the group together with one show. One show. So I have this idea. And hopefully it's a really good idea. And if it works out, it puts us right back on track. Here's my thoughts, guys. I want to do What's Up Fandom Night every other Saturday that the group doesn't meet up. We would get on here at about 8 o'clock, somewhere in there, 8:30, and we would just go. We would just talk. Now, What's Up Fandom Night, the way that show works is we talk about the group pages and what's going on. We would make a slight modification to how that's done. Very slight, but significant. Rather than skipping, like, okay, we've done a couple in Fandom Night, let's go over to Sentai, let's talk about that, now let's jump over to this, now let's jump over to this, now let's go back. We're not going to do that. I was thinking this. We say, hey, let's talk the Controller Pile-Up. We go down that list, we bring up a couple of our own things, we talk, we give it a half an hour, something like that, half an hour, 40 minutes, if it runs over, whatever, we do that. It's a Saturday, so we're not bogged down to anything. And on top of that, it's going to be a Saturday, and we could do it live to have fan interaction. Now, as soon as we're done with that part, we say, okay, now we're going on to Pages of Fandom. Let's talk our comic books, so blah, 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 yaki smacky. Now, when we get done with that, we go to the next one. Now, after all of the show is done, and we've had fan interaction between the whole show, we've had people hanging out and whatnot, we say, all right, guys, that was it. We're getting out of here. Click. We're done. Okay. Once we go off, we cut that audio file. The entire thing goes up on What's Up Fandom Night. But then we take the comic book segment, that becomes the Pages of Fandom. So if there's people out there that want to be part of everything, they can be part of everything. If there's people that just want the comic book talk, they've got it. And if people that just want the Star Trek talk, they've got it. And people that just want the video game talk, they've got it. Everything would be there. Everything would be accounted for, and you'd be more than fine to just go to the conversation you want. But for everybody that was interested in being a part of the entire live broadcast, you would be a part of all 5 of our shows right then and there. That's my idea as of right now. It keeps us to where we don't have to film all week, and it takes a little bit of the burden off, and it still gives us all the shows, and it takes us back to the original concept idea. Look, I know that the format's here. If you've been with us a long time, you've seen the formats change, and it gets old, and it gets to be a problem where you get used to one show and then it alters to become something else. I get it, and that is part of what this idea is for. This idea allows us to keep current with what's been going on in our personal stuff for video gaming and so on and so forth, and also across the websites or across the feeds while we talk about what people have been talking about, doing what we do and talking about our stories and so on and so forth, and having big conversations while also bringing the show live, which is something we've wanted to do literally since we started this thing, while also kind of cutting back to the original format. The original format of Reploid Productions was to talk fandom. Bam! All out in the open, one show, one major show that talked about everything. Bam, lay it down, there it is. And it died. It died because we could not maintain it. Because on YouTube, it is a better show in general. if people go just for wrestling and they go on Wednesday and they know that that's what happened with the Sentai. That's how it took off. People know that Sentai is Wednesday, and that's the only thing they care about. So they know they want to listen to what they listen to us talk about Sentai. It posts on Wednesday. Come Wednesday, there's your Sentai. There it is. But this entire thing, this whole thing that we started all these years ago, like a decade ago, actually it might be like 11 years now, when we started this thing, the point was to be a visual radio show. A podcast, yes, but it was supposed to be a visual podcast. Go back to Reploid Productions, okay, and watch those first videos, the Prince of Persia and things like that. That exactly is what the show was supposed to be. That was the entire concept, was to talk all fandom all the time, every day. And it got lost. And it's just, look, 11 years is a long time to do anything and not get paid for it. That's the truth of it. And then we tried to be more professional, and we tried to break up the feeds, and we tried to say, here's this for this guy, and this for this guy, and this for this guy, which sure made us more successful in the long run. It actually did bring more people in and get people active and build the Sentai community, which then is also being broken down now, where people are actually starting to flow into the games, flow into the comics. We're having conversations, and the group pages are doing great now because of what we've been able to build with what we've done. But I think now would be the time. I just don't think it was possible at the time, but now would be the time to redo What's Up in the format that it's already in, where we're already talking about all the shows anyway. And why not just make that all the shows? And then if you listen to the What's Up Live and you feel the need to listen to the comic book conversation again, you could literally get the feed for the Pages of Fandom, and that is the segment of the What's Up that got posted. This is where my mind is right now for this material. This is what I'm thinking about doing. And if I can get the guys on board, I can get the filming schedules back on track, and we don't have to lose a single show. And it takes us back to the beginning, which I would appreciate a lot. Well, days off 3, that's done. Weekend done. Day off done. I got to go to work.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.